Namaste, aloha. Welcome to the Bhagavad Gita as it is class. My name is Janapati Das. Welcome. Please accept my respects, everyone. Let me offer my most humble obeisances unto my spiritual master, Jagat Guru, Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Srila Prabhupada, my life and soul, and to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who translated and purported the Bhagavad Gita as it is, which we have been working through for the last year or so. Today we will be starting chapter 14. We read through the chapter, and we will start with the purports. But first, we'll chant a little bit first, so please join along. Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Haribo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Okay, welcome again. We are reading from chapter 14, entitled The Three Modes of Material Nature. So Krishna and Arjuna are having this conversation. Arjuna is inquiring deeper and deeper into the specifics of Krishna's multifarious opulences and energies that we've gone through. And now we are talking more specifically about Prakriti, or the material energy, most specifically what is known as the trigunas. Trigunas is three modes of material nature. So that is, these refer to, we've talked about them before, and they refer to Satyat, which is the mode of goodness. The mode of goodness is categorized by clean living, clean thoughts, beautiful things, freshness, patience, kindness. Generally, it's good to be in the material mode of goodness. Sunrises and walking by the beach, calmness. Then the next mode of nature is the Rajas Guna, which is the material mode of passion. So passion is categorized by sex life, quickness, fast-paced, fighting, anger, spicy food, things that are like basically mode of passion. When you think of something like passion, you think of like intense desire, right? So then we have the mode of tamas. Tamas is the mode of ignorance, which is categorized by staleness, putrid, decaying, sleep and lethargy, drug use, darkness. So these are very specific, very particular, or a few just items. It's much more deeper in detail as we go along with these three modes of material nature. You can do a case study of the three modes of material nature. Basically, these modes of material nature are intertwined throughout the material universes. People are under the influence of them at different times, sometimes mixed, sometimes more. Generally, our goal is to try to keep our life in the mode of goodness and ultimately excel beyond the material mode of goodness to the transcendental mode of goodness, which is Krishna consciousness. But we can see these things in our life happening all the time. Even we come to the end of the day, the mode of ignorance starts to take over. Maybe we've had the mode of passion, or we get up in the morning and the mode of ignorance wakes up, we take a shower and do everything right and go for a walk by the beach. It's the mode of goodness. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful sunrise. But then the day picks up and we have to go through the mode of passion, coming to the end of the night where there might be mode of ignorance. And so the modes of material nature play the role, but generally speaking, we try not to engage ourselves, get overly attached in these particular modes, but try to at least be in the mode of goodness, which makes it the easiest to practice meditation so that we can come to the transcendental mode of goodness. So text 1, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Parambuyaha Prabhakshami Gananam Utamam Yaj Ganatva Munayaha Shabe Param Siddhim Ito Gata. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, Param, transcendental, Bhuya, again, Pravakshami, I shall speak, Gananam, of all knowledge, Gananam, knowledge, Uttamam, the Supreme, Yat, which, Ganatva, knowing, Munaya, the sages. Sarve, all. Saparam, transcendental. Siddhim, perfection. Ita, from this world. Gataha, attained. So words that start to pop, they're very nice to go over these different Sanskrit verses because you see repetition of different words and words that come up again. Of course, we know the Uvacha means to speak, and we can either say Arjuna Uvacha or Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, depending who's speaking. Param means the supreme, like Param Brahman, right? We have the Gana, which means knowledge, and we see that word repeat itself in a lot of times here. Uttamam, the supreme, like Uttama Adhakarya, right? The supreme devotee, the highest stage of devotion, right? Uttamam is the supreme. Muna, of course, is Muni, like the sage, like Narada Muni. Param, of course, transcendental. Siddhi is perfection. And so just nice to kind of go over these words again. Translation, text 1. The blessed Lord said, "Again I shall declare to you the supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained to supreme perfection." And so transcendental knowledge is repeated over and over again, but it's not something that, much like a materialistic concept or thing that we enjoy in this world, it might be very sweet at first, but when we repeat it over and over again, it gets old and stale. But with transcendental knowledge, it's on a completely transcendental thing, so we can actually hear it one time, but not only hear particular parts, and the spiritual master will be saying things over and over again. And as we're purified of heart, what is being said to us is we're picking up on another completely different concept, deeper and deeper concepts of. So Krishna is going over the spiritual knowledge again for Arjuna, because as they go deeper into the conversation, Arjuna is surrendering more and more, and therefore he's experiencing more, which is really wonderful. Just as we can do this as well. Purport by Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. From the 7th chapter to the end of the 12th, Sri Krishna in detail reveals the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now the Lord himself is further enlightening Arjuna. If one understands this chapter through the process of philosophical speculation, he will come to an understanding of devotional service. In the 13th chapter, it was clearly explained that by humbly developing knowledge, one may possibly be freed from material entanglement. It has also been explained that it is due to association with the modes of nature that the living entity is entangled in this material world. So we've said this before, where there's actually, it's not a real black or white kind of thing. It is, in the sense that devotion, it's all about Krishna, really, in the end. That's the clear-cutness. But there's all these different paths and ways to get to Krishna. And if you want to take the slow boat to China, you can do that. You know, if you're not ready to go directly there, you can, I want to, do this. And in chapter 12, we referred, Krishna was telling Arjuna the different degrees of, if you can't do this, then do this. If you can't do this, do that. And it went from all the way complete devotional service to doing, giving charity, doing philanthropic activities, basically anything that would be beyond just being a self-centered quasi Krishna in your mind. That you just do something that's not about you, but about someone else. So that's what this being Bhaktivedanta is also saying here. It has been explained that due to association with the modes of nature that the living entity is entangled in this material world. Now in this chapter, the Supreme Personality explains what those modes of nature are. So we've been talking about these gunas And now we're going to get into a little bit more detail, which is very exciting because it's good to know, to have that knowledge about what exactly is going on, how they act, how they bind, and how they give liberation. The knowledge explained in this chapter is proclaimed by the Supreme Lord to be superior to the knowledge given so far in other chapters. By understanding this knowledge, various great sages attain perfection and transfer to the spiritual world. The Lord now explains the same knowledge in a better way. This knowledge is far, far superior to all other processes of knowledge thus far explained, and knowing this, many attain perfection. Thus it is expected that one who understands this 14th chapter will attain perfection. Okay, that's good to know. So we can make a case study of chapter 14. Text 2. Idam ganam upashritya. Mama sadharmam yam agataha. Sarje pi no payat pajante. Pralaya na viyavanti cha. Idam, this gananam, knowledge. Upashritya, taking shelter of. Another very interesting, that word upa coming up again. Upashritya, taking shelter of. Mama, my. Sadamyam, nature. Agataha, attain. Sarjayapi, even in the creation. Na, never. Upajayante, comes in. Pralaye, in the annihilation. Na, nor. Vyatanti, disturbed. Cha, also. Text 2. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature, which is like my own nature. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation, nor disturbed at the time of dissolution. Purport. After acquiring perfect transcendental knowledge, one acquires qualitative equality with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, becoming free from the repetition of birth and death. So that's a very interesting point. So the quality of spiritual energy is the same between the Jivatma and the Paramam, or between Krishna and the living entity. And we define that the Jivatma is qualitatively one with Krishna, in being that they are both of spiritual energy. But quantitatively, we are not of the equality or the sameness as the Supreme. We are infinitesimally small, whereas Krishna is infinite. We are a spark of Krishna. One, however, does not, however, lose his identity as an individual soul. It is understood from Vedic literature that the liberated souls who have reached the transcendental planets of the spiritual sky always look to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, being engaged in his transcendental loving service. So even after liberation, the devotees do not lose their individual identity. So although we are of the same energy, we don't merge into the Krishna. We are one in willness. And this is what we were talking about in this reference of coming close in upa, to sit close, right? To sit close means to be also to worship, to give our service to Krishna, in one in will. So we are engaged. We are one by our quality of being the same spiritual energy, but we are not one as being the same, exactly same person. We are one in will. And this is what relationship is about. You don't become, when you get married, there is a union symbolism of becoming one flesh. Even in the Bible it says to become one flesh. You cleave to your wife and become one flesh, but it doesn't mean you're becoming your wife and your wife is becoming you and you're just one entity. No, you're like one in will, one in walking together as one couple. Right? You still have your individual aspects. So we're not, that's what needs to be stated here, is that we will, we're engaged in a transcendental loving service of one in will with Krishna. We do not lose our identities. Generally, in the material world, whatever knowledge we get is contaminated by the three modes of material nature. So that's a really important point. Everything, like I was stating, everything is contaminated or infected or influenced by these three modes of material nature. So even the knowledge that we get, the information we get, is under the modes of ignorance, passion, and goodness. And it says it's contaminated. So the purity of the material knowledge is in different variegatedness. But transcendental knowledge is sattva guna, so it's beyond it's beyond the mode of goodness. It is a transcendental goodness. But knowledge which is not contaminated by the three modes of nature is called transcendental knowledge. As soon as one is situated in that transcendental knowledge, he's on the same platform as that of the Supreme Person, which means what it means to be one in will. Those who have no knowledge of the spiritual sky hold that after being freed from the material activities in the material form, the spiritual identity becomes formless without any variegatedness. However, just as there is material variegatedness in this world, so in the spiritual world there is also variegatedness. Those in ignorance of this think that spiritual existence is opposed to material variety, but actually in the spiritual sky one attains spiritual form. Everything in the material world is a perverted reflection. So things that are in the material world are also in the spiritual world, but in a purified spiritual form. It's purified spiritual aspect. Whereas everything in the material world is under the influences of material modes of nature. So that's the difference. However, just as there is material variegatedness in this world, so in the spiritual world there is also variegatedness. Those in ignorance of this think that spiritual existence is opposed to material variety, but actually in the spiritual sky one attains spiritual form. There are spiritual activities, and the spiritual situation is called devotional life. That atmosphere is said to be uncontaminated, and there one is equal in quality with the Supreme Lord. Not quantity, but quality. To obtain such knowledge, one must develop all the spiritual qualities. One who thus develops the spiritual qualities is not affected either by the creation or the destruction of the material world. So that, yes, the Jivatma, under the conditions of the material modes of nature, with his desire to own and control, is consistently in the cycle of samsara, birth and death and rebirth and death again. And in the existence of time, from the creation of the material, from the creation of the universe to the destruction of the universe, the Jivatma will continue because it is eternal. But if it is consistently contaminated under the influence of material nature, that the time of destruction, it has to be taken up into the body of Mahavishnu and wait for a long period of time for the creation of the universe to start, universes to start again, so that it can have another form of material energy. Hopefully we have some intelligence that's a very, very, very long time. I mean, not just the existence of the universes, but also the time in between. It's unfathomable amount of time. So, text 3. Mama yonir mahad brahma tasmin galvam dadamyaham sambhava sarva bhutanam tato bhavanti bharata. Mama, my yoni, source of birth. Mahat, the total material existence. Brahma, supreme. Tasmin, in that. Garbham, pregnancy. Dadami, create. Aham, I. Sambhavaha, possibility. Sarva Bhutanam, of all living entities. Tata, thereafter, Bhavati becomes Bharat, O son of Bharata. Text 3, translation. The total material substance, called the Brahman, is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharat. Purport. This is an explanation of the world. Everything that takes place is due to the combination of Kshetra and Kshetragana. So we refer to that word, the field of the activities, and the knower of the field of activities. The body and the spirit soul. This combination of material nature and the living entity is made possible by the Supreme God Himself. The Mahat Tattva is the total cause of the total cosmic manifestation. And because in the total substance of the material cause there are three modes of nature, it is sometimes called Brahman. The Supreme Personality impregnates that total substance, and thus innumerable universes become possible. The total material substance, the Mahat Tattva, is described as Brahman in the Vedic literature. Tasmat etad Brahman nama rupam anam chayajayate. Into that Brahman, the seeds of the living entities are impregnated by the Supreme Person. The 24 elements, beginning from earth, water, fire, and air, are all material energy called Maha Brahman, or the Great Brahman, the material nature. As explained in the 7th chapter, beyond this there is another superior nature, the living entity. So we had that earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. All these comprise my inferior material energies, and there is another superior energy, which are the living entities, the jivatmas, which are struggling with all this material energy, trying to find enjoyment and sustaining the universe by being present there before me. So this is what Bhaktivedanta is saying, that everything that takes place is due to the combination of Kshetra and Kshetragana. So not just the field of activities, the body, and the living entity being present, but the living entities being present maintain the universe and the movements of the universe and the things that go on in the universe. And the fact that the universe is even, material universe is even present, because the jivatmas are present there because they themselves want to play God. So therefore they are given that playground, the playground of hell. It's like not a great playground really, but who is that? Ram Dass, or one of those impersonalists referred to it as a playground that God comes to play in. Nonsense explanations and stuff. In material nature, the superior nature is mixed by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Wait a minute, hold on. As explained, I got that, okay. And thereafter, all living entities are born of this material nature. The scorpion lays its eggs in piles of rice, and sometimes it is said that the scorpion is born out of rice, but the rice is not the cause of the scorpion. Actually, I've heard of these things. They used to be in the Middle Ages where they would have they had some kind of theory, and I have to look it up specifically, but it was something like that, like scorpions coming out of rice. And they were saying, if you had rice is where the bugs come from, but actually it's that there are little eggs inside the rice, because the little living entities in the forms of bugs lay their eggs in the rice husks. When they get gathered up, you don't see the eggs. It's true about a lot of times. This is why you don't buy, because even in the stores you're eating little eggs and stuff, and you don't normally leave your bags of rice and stuff under heat, because it'll hatch the eggs, and sometimes you see these little gnats inside your bag and you're like, whoa, what's that? You know, like especially in like third world countries that I've lived in, you don't leave that out too long, otherwise you'll be eating. I mean, I guess you'd be eating eggs anyways, but like little bug eggs and whatever. But it's better than just like eating little flies and stuff, I guess. I don't know. I mean, you can't do much about those kind of things. You know, you try to clean out your food as much as possible, but there's bacteria and all kinds of things that you're eating. So just do your best with it. The scorpion lays its eggs in piles of rice, and sometimes it's said that the scorpion is born out of rice, but the rice is not the cause of the scorpion. So they figured that out. So even scientists were in the Middle Ages were like, oh yeah, this is how the Dark Ages. They were like, oh, this is how this happens, and then someone comes along and goes, that's not actually how it happens, really. And we kind of laugh about it now, but the people are really serious about these things because they didn't have really a lot of knowledge about these kind of things. Actually, the eggs were laid by the mother. Similarly, material nature is the cause of the birth of the living entities. Similarly, the material nature is not the cause of birth of the living entities. Let that sink in, okay? So, we can say that we are not really born, but we are eternal, but our body is born. But the fact that there is a process of birth does not happen through an interaction of material nature. All the machinery is set up there, you know, all the processes, but it needs the living entity to make those things happen. So what happens is that scientists will say, they'll look at the workings of the machine, you know, the things, and they'll say, oh, this is why this is happening, as if it's like some kind of independent thing. But the reality is deeper than that, is that the living entity being present in the body allows for the facilities in the material energy to actually work. Otherwise, it's just a dead body, right? That's why when the living entity leaves the body, nothing works in your body anymore, because there's no living entity present. Just like I mean, it's a crude example, but if you take a battery out of the clock, nothing works. All the machinery is there, it still operates, but if you don't have the battery in there, then it's like, and even the battery itself has certain kind of properties that make it work. So not a really great example, but we'll use it anyway. The seed is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they only seem to come out as products of material nature. Thus, every living entity, according to his past activities, has a different body created by this material nature, and the entity can enjoy or suffer according to his past deeds. The Lord is the cause of all manifestations of living entities in this material world. So even the different forms that we take on are due to our desires and our activities that we've done within those bodies, most specifically the human body, of course, because then we have free will. But the living entities in animal bodies don't have the ability to inquire or to do religious activities. So, text 4. Sarvayonishu kanteya murtayaha sambhavantiyaha tasma brahma mahajonir aham brija pradaha pita. Sarvayonishu, on all species of life, kanteya, O son of Kunti, murtayaha, forms, sambhavanti, as they appear, ya, which, tasam, all of them, Brahma, supreme, Mahat Yonihi, the source of birth in the material substance, Aham, myself, Bija Pradaha, seed-giving father, Pita, seed-giving, Bija Pradaha, seed-giving, and Pita, father. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father. So it's by the will of Krishna that Krishna places the living entities according to their desires in the material world. And from there, just like when seeds are given to then a fertile ground, they grow from there. In this verse, it is clearly explained that the Supreme Personality of God, as Krishna, is the original father of all living entities. The living entities are combinations of the material nature and the spiritual nature. Such living entities are seen not only on this planet, but in every planet, even in the highest where Brahma is situated, even in places where we don't assume, because there is earth, water, fire, air, ether. So there's different forms. We have a certain combination as humans of earth, of water, of some fire, of some air, and obviously space, right, in a certain combination. But that doesn't mean that living entities can't be present in a fire body or just a water body. So we may not even perceive, or even ether body for that matter. So because these are all material elements, right? So we may not perceive things. So it's not just clear to say that there are aliens. Are there aliens out there? Yes, there probably are aliens that we could probably see. But there are also living entities in all through the solar system, on the sun, on the moon. Probably Artemis 2 passed by them. But it just appears like to us what we're viewing through our mud eyes, we don't see anything. We don't see anything. We don't say, oh, these are just barren wastelands. But no, they have living entities on them too. Living entities all over the place. In different dimensions in the universe too, that we can't perceive. Everywhere there are living entities. Within the earth there are living entities. Even within water and within fire. All these appearances are due to the mother, material nature, in Krishna's seed-giving process. The purport is that the living entities being impregnated in the material world come out and form at the time of creation according to their past deeds. Text 5. Sattvam rajas tamas iti gunaha prakriti sambhavaha nibadhanti mahabaho dehinam avayayam. Sattvam, mode of goodness. Raja, mode of passion. Tama, mode of ignorance. Iti, thus. Gunaha, qualities. Prakriti, material nature. Sambhavaha, produced of. Nibbannanti, does condition. Mahabaho, almighty armed one. Dehe, in this body. Dehinam, the living entity. Avyayam, eternal. Material nature consists of the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the living entity comes in contact with nature, he becomes conditioned by these modes. Purport: the living entity, because he is transcendental, has nothing to do with this material nature. So in a transcendental sense, we are aloof from the material elements, even though we are embodied by it. Still, because he has become conditioned by the material world, he is acting under the spell of the three modes of material nature. So this is the illusion. The illusion is not that material nature is not real. The illusion is that it's temporary and that it's who we are. It's that it consists of who we really are. But it's actually more like a spell or like a movie that we're experiencing around us from the perspective of the living entity. Pretty strong one too, actually, can you say. Because living entities have different kinds of bodies in terms of the different aspects of nature, they are induced to act according to that nature. This is the cause of the varieties of happiness and distress. So that's a pretty deep comment. Sometimes you wonder why people think a certain way. You might be standing from a different perspective. You might be standing on a mode of goodness. You like to go, you live your life according to being good and kind to people, to giving charity, to be patient with people, to, you do healthy things, you take care of your body. You're really in the mode of goodness. You listen to mode of goodness music. You everything you do But when you come in contact with a person deep in the modes of ignorance or passion, it's like the perspectives are different. So the person from the mode of passion or mode of ignorance is in this real dark existence and just sees everything through that lens. Sometimes you wonder why people think a certain way or why they're affected by a certain way. And that's why. So why it's encouraged to people to hopefully try to cultivate more mode of goodness in their life, because then they can come closer to Krishna. When you're in the mode of ignorance or the mode of passion, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to try to come closer to Krishna. Tatra Sattvam, this is text 6. Tatra Sattvam Nirmalavat Prakashakam Anamayam Shukya Shangeya Badnanti Gana Shangena Shanaga. Tatra, thereafter, Sattvam, mode of goodness. Nirmalavat, being purest in the material world. Prakashakam, illuminating. Anamayam, without any sinful reaction. Shukya, happiness. Shangena, association. Bananti, conditions. Gana, knowledge. Shangena, association. Cha, also. Ananga, O sinless one. Translation, text 6. O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode develop knowledge, but they become conditioned by the concept of happiness. Yeah, there's a lot to be said about that. You can get the material modes of goodness by themselves are not the highest form. They are the easiest way to become elevated to the transcendental. It's also very conducive for meditational practices. But we get in that mode, you're just addicted to living in this kind of mode of goodness. And sometimes you don't even really know what to do with the mode of goodness. People come to Hawaii where there's a mode of goodness, they don't know what to do with it, so they do drugs and drink alcohol, and so they're in the mode of passion or mode of ignorance. The living entities conditioned by material nature are of various types. One is happy, another is very active, and another is helpless. All these types of psychological manifestations are causes of the entity's conditioned status in nature. How they are differently conditioned is explained in this section of Bhagavad Gita. The mode of goodness is first considered. The effect of developing the mode of goodness in the material world is that one becomes wiser than those otherwise conditioned. But it also can be a trap. If you feel like you're very wise and you're in look how good I am, look how good my life is. It's just like the false ego would be like, I'm not like those people over there in the mode of passion and ignorance, A man in the mode of goodness is not so much affected by material miseries, and he has a sense of advancement in material knowledge. The representative type of Brahmana is the Brahmana who is supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness. This sense of happiness is due to understanding that in the mode of goodness one is more or less free from sinful reactions. Actually, in the Vedic literature, it is said that the mode of goodness means greater knowledge and a greater sense of happiness. The difficulty here is that when a living entity is situated in the mode of goodness, he becomes conditioned to feel that he is advanced in knowledge and is better than others. That's what I was saying. In this way, he becomes conditioned. The best examples are the scientist and philosopher. Each is very proud of his knowledge. And because they generally improve their living conditions, they feel a sort of material happiness. This sense of advanced happiness and conditional life makes them bound by the mode of goodness of material nature. As soon as they are attracted towards working in the mode of goodness, and as long as they have an attraction for working in that way, they have to take some type of body in the modes of nature. Thus, there is no likelihood of liberation or being transferred to the spiritual world. Repeatedly, one may become a philosopher, a scientist, or a poet, and repeatedly become entangled in the same disadvantages of birth and death. But due to the illusion of the material energy, one thinks that that sort of life is pleasant. Yeah. So it's actually maybe in some ways probably worse, because you're just thinking, this is my life, this is really great, I'm living a great life, I'm very intelligent, I'm very beautiful, I take care of my body really well, and I'm handsome and whatnot. And it's hard to be like, well, this is not your home and this is a place of misery. You're like, no, I'm actually enjoying myself. I've met people like this where they're like, they're feeling like, well, that's their, things are going well for these people, so therefore maybe that is the goal of life. But then sooner or later death comes around, or maybe you were healthy but you get cancer, so you don't inquire about spiritual life. No, a lot of things could happen. But if you're lucky and you maybe even have come from a place of mode of ignorance, and you've elevated yourself through the chanting of Krishna's names to the mode of goodness, you know what life is really like, what the material world is really like, and you focus on being humble, serving your spiritual master, and getting out of this material world. Anyway, we could read one more text. Rajo Rajak Ragat Makam Vidi Trishna Sangha Samud Bhavam Tan Nibadanti Kanteya Karma Sangeya Dehinam. Raja, mode of passion, Raga Atma Kam, born of desire or lust, Vidi, no, Trishna, hankering, Shanga, association, Samud Bhavanam, produced of, Tat, that, Nibbānanti is bound, Kanteya, O son of Kunti, Karma Sangeya, Gena, association with fruit of activity, Dehinam, of the embodied. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings. That's our word. A lot of people in mode of passion, actually, most of the material world. O son of Kunti, and because of this, one is bound to material fruit of activities. We are bound, a consistent bondage of desiring for things and striving for things, achieving those things, not being satisfied, but then having a whole new menu of things that we have to keep striving for. And this is it's almost like the chain gang. It's just like constantly working for the material fruit of activities. The mode of passion is characterized by the attraction between man and woman. Woman has attraction for man, and man has attraction for woman. This is called the mode of passion. And when the mode of passion is increased, one develops a hankering for material enjoyment. He wants to enjoy sense gratification. For sense gratification, the man in the mode of passion wants some honor in society or in the nation, and he wants to have a happy family with nice children, wife, and house. These are the products of the mode of passion. As long as one is hankering after these things, he has to work very hard. Therefore, it is clearly stated here that he becomes associated with the fruits of his activities, and thus becomes bound by such activities. In order to please his wife, children, and society, and to keep up his prestige, one has to work. Therefore, the whole material world is more or less in the mode of passion. Modern civilization is considered to be advanced in the standards of the mode of passion. Yeah, we're constantly working for the things that we want. We want to achieve. We want to have a good education. We want to get a good wife. We want to have a good family. We want to have a good job. We want to get the cars and the computers and the games and trinkets and nice clothes. But we have to go to work to do that. So that's just a constant, consistent thing that goes on in society. Formerly, advanced condition was considered to be in the mode of goodness. If there is no liberation for those in the mode of goodness, what of those who are entangled in the mode of passion? Okay, let's just finish this up with the mode of ignorance. Text 8. Tamash tavadagana jam vidi mohanam sarva dehinam prama dalasya nidrabish tan nibad nanti palata. Tamaha, mode of ignorance. 2. But agana jam, products of ignorance. Vidi, knowing. Mohanam, delusion. Sarva dehinam, of all embodied beings. Pramada, madness. Alasya, indolence. Nidrabihi, sleep. Tat, that. Nibadnanti, binds. Bharat, O son of Bharat. Text 8, translation. O son of Bharat, the mode of ignorance causes the delusion of all living entities. The result of this mode is madness, indolence, and sleep, which it binds the conditioned soul. In this verse, the specific application of the word to is very significant. This means that the mode of ignorance is a very particular qualification of the embodied soul. This mode of ignorance is just the opposite of the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, by developing knowledge, one can understand what is what, but the mode of ignorance is just the opposite. Everyone under the spell of the mode of ignorance becomes mad, and a madman cannot understand what is what. Instead of making advancement, one becomes degraded. The definition of the mode of ignorance is stated in the Vedic literature. Under the spell of ignorance, one cannot understand the thing as it is. For example, everyone can see that his grandfather has died, and therefore he will also die. Man is mortal. The children that he conceives will also die, so death is sure. Still, people are madly accumulating money and working very hard all day and night, not caring for the eternal spirit. This is madness. In their madness, they are very reluctant to make advancement in spiritual understanding. It's true. People are just like, they're having a hard time even just going to church on Sunday. They're just like, most people are just like, I don't want to do anything with that spiritual thing, whatever. My spiritual thing is, drinking coffee, reading the newspaper, and, being a little bit calm and not stressed out. When they are invited, such people are very lazy. We live in a very lazy society, spiritually. When they are invited to associate for spiritual understanding, they are not much interested. They are not even active like the man who is controlled by the mode of passion. Thus, another symptom of one embedded in the mode of ignorance is that he sleeps more than is required. 6 hours of sleep is sufficient, but a man in the mode of ignorance sleeps at least 10 or 12 hours a day. Such a man appears to be always dejected and is addicted to intoxicants and sleeping. These are the symptoms of a person conditioned by the mode of ignorance. So that's good. We will leave off there at text 8 and we'll chat a little bit. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Haribo. Thank you very much. See you next time.